So you all want to plug AI everywhere you can, and that is what the world has become. How much time development teams take to understand complex data or metadata? What happens if you create a collaboration mind where every one of us are able to sneak into what other people are trying to do without going and really talking to them? Building is more of thinking about what use cases customer or business really believe in getting some value, right? But how to build faster in a gigantic organization, right? A huge organization which has lots of domains. You basically have this data trained or LLM, and then you have a brain where you can basically go and enable diverse teams to operate better. These all are the things you go through as a senior leader, right? Because you have to deal with all these roles. And AI can basically help you out in everything you do. So this presentation is very near to the people who have actually got themselves into a bigger role in the industry, who are senior leaders, but now they want to bring more efficiency in what they are trying to do, right? And that, let's be very clear. Now, there are several case studies you can speak, but I thought I'll pick up a couple of case studies which are close to my heart from all the 20 years of experience which I had, right? So the title of the presentation is Operational Excellence with AI. But what exactly is operational engineering excellence? Let's try to understand that. So operational excellence could be anything, whatever you want to do in your life, right? You want to operate in a very, very optimized way. And that's what is operational excellence. But in particular to this particular presentation which I'm making, it is more of how you bring operational excellence in your engineering organization, right? How you build operational excellence to the application which you build. They stand up and they serve customers. So that is what operational excellence means. That is doing the things right every time, and then you excel, and then you make that as a habit. Now, what is engineering excellence? It is again part of operational excellence, but you can call it as engineering is more of building something or maintaining something. So I would say it is just not clean code or not reliability, but it's beyond that, which could be scalability, testability, and other factors of engineering. So in short, operational excellence plus engineering excellence is good, right? But operational excellence with engineering excellence and now AI is great, of course, right? So you all want to plug AI everywhere you can, and that is what the world has become. I mean, there is very obvious reason you should think about AI in everything you want to do. The reason being, there is something to leverage, which is proven, which is doing great. And I was listening to all the things which Aditya was speaking. He basically was giving me a framework to operate as a leader, right? And that's the best part of these sessions. And a little contribution from me. I'm pretty sure this will not make you legendary, but it will give you something for you to take away from here, right? So how AI turbocharges or the operational excellence, engineering excellence is anything which you do when you are building an application is to write the code, right? Test the code, take the code to a production environment or a testable environment, and then finally that code basically serves a business purpose, right? So in every area, you need to ensure that you have operational excellence and engineering excellence. And AI can basically help you out in everything you do. Like I basically showed what is the cost for everything you do, right from an engineer to an infrastructure to even analysis, right? Like that, everywhere you need to put AI. The cost part will come to it, and that's where one of the case study which I'm going to speak will be. Let's get into a case study, because I can speak on about what is AI, what is operational excellence, what is engineering excellence, but let's try to understand through a case study. There are two case studies which I'm going to speak today. One is AI powered operational excellence for rapid metadata discovery, and one more is something called as anomaly detection. We'll come to it. From morning, I've been listening to great talk, right, about how you can build products for customers, how you can eventually build use cases for the business, right? Now, building is more of thinking about what use cases customer or business really believe in getting some value, right? But how to build faster in a gigantic organization, right? A huge organization which has lots of domains. You have lot of departments, right? And each department talks to each other. right? Let's take example of this, right? You have an HR department, you have a software engineering department, you have the analytics department, you have security department, all of these people, right? Every piece of this puzzle basically brings in a lot of metadata which you need to absorb. Now, let's say I want to build an application, I want to bring it to the market, which we call it as time to market, and the time to market should be very low. That can only happen if you have got check off or signed off on everything which is a characteristics of that application to truly go and sit into the market, right? Now, but today it takes some time, right? It always takes some time because you have to ensure that you pass through the intelligence whichever is there in each department to be put in, evaluated, and then you eventually get something done. So what I'm trying to tell here is that there are several divisions where you want to understand the data and the availability of services so that what you build is an orchestrated solution. At that point of time, the basic thing you need to do is you need to go and talk to different divisions, different departments. The basic thing you need to do is you understand what interfaces each department has. The other basic things is that you need to ensure that the people who are building this, which are application developers or AI developers or software engineers, right, they are able to translate what they have understood into code or into a solution, right? Basically, there is a lot of chaos when you are trying to really deal with a big solution. And we want to get into a situation where we want to convert chaos to clarity. And that is what this use case study is all about, right? So, but that is basically streamlining access, understanding, and collaboration across domains. Now, what are the various questions to ask before we see the real output of the case study? How much time development teams take to understand complex data or metadata? It's a very important question to ask, right? Does anyone know how much time your team takes? It's variable, right? But that is the biggest thing which they go through when they are trying to think about a solution, right? Similarly, how much time development team takes to architect a decision record? Hey, this is the final decision and this is the architecture. Let's sign off on this thing. They take a lot of time. Similarly, there are other questions like how much time your team takes to collaborate with other domains or application teams or for various integrations, or what is the cost of writing a project requirement document by product owner, or even how efficient is the program management which works across tens of teams to build critical interrelated business deliverables. These all are the things you go through as a senior leader, right? Because you have to deal with all these roles. Now, important thing is that these all takes time. Time to understand, time to write architectural decision records, time for cross-team collaboration, time for or cost of writing PRDs or efficiency of program management. Now, what if the metadata associated with each one of this is brought into one place, right? That means someone who is a program manager, he does not, or you can reduce some time for him to understand how a product owner operates or how an architect person operates or how the data or basically the team operates. How do you reduce this? This is not about customer data I'm talking about. This is organizational data. It is about the metadata of the organization, how it operates, right? So that is what this use case which I think of, right? You basically have this data trained or LLM, and then you have a brain where you can basically go and ask, enable diverse teams to operate better. And that's what it is. Right. Now, you can think of, okay, so what is the solution for this? What are you thinking? What is that you have in your mind which can help out this, right? So, important thing is that you understand the roles of the people. They're software engineers, they're architects, program managers, product program leaders, executive leaders. They all have a strategic involvement in the company. When I say strategic involvement, which means that their strategy is to do something for which they have been assigned a title. Right from an engineer who is at the node level or a leaf level to a executive leadership who basically sets the priorities and funding and the roadmap for what needs to be done, right? But what happens if you create a collaboration mind where every one of us are able to sneak into what other people are trying to do without going and really talking to them? Right? That means you're reducing the interaction time. What does it mean, right? Let's say an executive leader can quickly know whether an application scales or not without basically talking to engineering team. Similarly, a program management team is able to talk to product owners without basically going to them, but understand the value of the delivery, right? Now, every one of them knows about each other because there is one centralized place from where they can seek this information, which will actually reduce the interaction time, which means when the interaction times gets reduced and you get accurate information, you are able to deliver solutions faster. What does anyone does when they go to the office, right? These days, you get into meetings. You have in the morning meeting, you have in the afternoon meeting, then you have another meeting, then you have another meeting. You keep on having meetings and meetings and meetings. You're getting paid for that to meet, right? But why you should be paid? You should be paid to make decisions, right? That's the most important. You should be all paid to make decisions, and that's what is that I'm thinking about operational excellence. And by the way, just to let you know, disclaimer: everything which you are seeing here is generated by AI. All the slides are generated by AI. Even the first picture you saw of mine is also generated by AI. So that's the truth. There is no organizational data or anything I'm getting from here. This whole presentation which you are going to experience in next 20-35 minutes is all generated by AI. Okay, but why it became very effective presentation is because I know that there is a repo, there is a centralized place where I can ask proper questions. Right, and I can tell it, hey, please generate this data for me, this data, this data. Now, when we are talking about organizations metadata, like Ed was mentioning, nobody wants to give the data, right? They are the owners of the data. But you can build something for the organization to operate more effectively. And that's what is this case study about, right? What does it operate mean? Save time, right? We are talking about getting the business is one thing, but actually delivering the business is where I'm talking. Right, which is bringing more of operational excellence. So in a nutshell, you really want, like anyone has a chatbot, okay, where you can ask any question for these roles, the roles which you have seen in the here, right? Software engineer, program manager, product owner, software or executive leader, right? So you need a chatbot, one place where you can ask any question. Hey, give me this information, give me that information, give me this information, and the meeting time is reduced. Right, and then you have saved lots of money for the company, and that's what is operational excellence, right? Now, what you can see here is, I don't want to exaggerate it. It's not a very complex architecture, but as simple as this: the data source here is the company's information, right? And then you have an LLM model which has been trained, and you use an agent, which is an agent you can see here, and you are querying and telling, hey, I'm a software engineer, I need to understand why product wants me to write this code. Okay, hey, I'm an executive leader, I really want to understand when strategically something should be delivered from a program manager, right? Anything and everything you'll be able to ask here. Now, it doesn't mean that you should not talk to the people, but you have reduced a lot of time. You have made your organization more operationally excellent. You have brought engineering excellence and operational excellence. So that's one of the case studies. Now, this is an idea which came to my mind while I was drafting when Ed called me to make a presentation. But hopefully, you can take something from this, and then you can start thinking how to experiment this and use this, right? So at the end of the day, again, these are also some made up numbers, but again, not bad numbers, but definitely numbers which you can think of within organization, which is a large scale organization, of what you can save, where you can save, right? You can save time in faster decision making. You can save time in cost reduction, drop in support tickets if you have something like that, such an agent, right? Increase in project delivery, and definitely improvement in future planning. And that's what, as an executive, you should be thinking, right? How do I save, and how do I make things move faster, right? So whatever is the room for improvement for me as a leader is what you should be thinking through, right? Now, one thing which we looked at here was that we made a traditional chatbot with all the information trained, or you are trying to seek information from an LLM which is able to give you this, right? But the cost which Ed Wattle was showing in terms of querying an LLM is pretty high these days, right? Very high, because a lot of computational power is needed, right? Now, you can take this solution to one next level, right? Where you can, like what he showed, you can use RAG or you can use vectors, right? Now, why do I ask this, right? So typically when you ask a question to LLM, you want to be as elaborative as good as possible, because you need accurate answer, because you're eventually burning your time asking the question, right? And you're getting a bad response from LLM, or bad response from the chat GPT or GenAI or whatever is the solution, right? Then you again spend more time in writing more and more questions, right? So, and then that becomes more expensive when you are trying to seek some information from LLM. Similarly, one extension this would be, you can introduce RAG, or you can introduce vector DBs. And what will vector DB do? Your queries or your ask will be more simplified, and as he spoke about, right, oversharing and undersharing of the information with the people who claim themselves to be the source of truth to the people who are actually the source of truth, right? So your source of truth becomes your vector DB, and then whatever question you have, what matches and what is relevant to that question goes through the cycle of RAG, and then eventually you ask the most relevant question to the GPT or any LLM model, right? So in this way, this is one level of optimization. I don't want you to use this pattern, but what I'm trying to say is, first thing is understanding to build some metadata information. Second thing is, how do you optimize that metadata, or bringing the information from the solution, how do you optimize it? Now, you can keep on talking and keep on using different things which are available in the market to optimize the way you seek the information from AI. But the idea here is just find a good solution or good use case which will bring in efficiency in your company, and that's what is operational efficiency in terms of my first case study. Now, let's get into second case study. Now, another case study which I was thinking while I was preparing for this presentation, by the way, all that you have seen, I prepared in 45 minutes of time. Till now, whatever you have seen, everything was done only just in 45 minutes of time. Now, next things which you are going to see are another things which are prepared in another 30 minutes of time. So, but let's talk about the idea, right? So, the case study is titled as AI that sees the unseen before it breaks you. Right? Okay. So, what it means is, you want someone to be watching you constantly and trying to start observing the behavior of any kind of anomaly in you, right? I will tell someone, hey, if I am trying to run very fast, let me know. Then how do they measure that I'm running too fast? They'll have a speedometer and they'll check, okay, hey, he's running at like say 7 miles per hour. So it's too fast. I recorded his speed, and then I'll let him know that, hey, you're running too fast. This can damage your heart or your brain, or it can damage your muscles, right? Or I also want someone to tell me, hey, you're running too slow, which is you're running at 1 mile or 2 miles per hour speed. That is also not good, because that is not adding any value to me, right? But you can set some kind of thresholds, or even I have a glucose monitor here, right? So why did I put a glucose monitor here? To understand that what is the threshold for me. At some point of time, if the sugar levels are going to 130 or 140 or 150, alert me. Or if I also tell it that, hey, if at some point of time the sugar levels are going below 70, then you alert me. But what I really wanted was a solution which understands if there are any anomalies between that range, a top range which is a high threshold to a low threshold. We really want everyone every time to be looking at you and looking at the patterns which they are observing, the anomalies which they are observing, not necessarily the high threshold or the low threshold. Like that in software applications also, let's assume you are trying to serve a customer, and on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, each day of the week, the customer behaves differently, right? Let's take example of Uber, which Ed Wattle was talking, right? That you tend to see there are more bookings on Uber on a certain day, right? And there are fewer bookings on Uber in certain days, but all depends on the geography, the situation, the environmental situation, or the profession, or the needs of the people, right? Like that, what I'm trying to tell with this second case study is that anomaly detection means a way where between your higher threshold and lower threshold, there are anomalies figured out, because certain times what happens is these anomalies or these patterns will lead you to better decision making than the thresholds which you reach. Let's understand a little more, right? So, AI that sees the unseen before it breaks means a smart incident detection engine is what I'm trying to say, right? So, what is an incident in an organization? An incident is something where if your application blows up, then you say, hey, there is an incident and things aren't working for me. Or is an incident is something where you see that one of the feature is not working in the company, then that's an incident, right? So how do you figure out that, hey, there is an incident in the company? What are the metrics to measure? Logs, like Ed mentioned, CPU utilization or memory utilization, or different metrics are available. Now, what you want to do, you want to set some kind of proactive detection on these metrics, right? Eventually, that proactive detection will help you from actual incident happening, and it will help you from creating automated alerts, which could be patterns which you would have never thought of as a human, right? I would always think that if there are 1,000 people accessing my website, that's a good number, right? And it should not be less than that, or there are only 100 people accessing that, and it should not be lower than that. But I really want to understand on which day, at what time, in which scenario there are people who are 500 people on the website, but suddenly there were 550, and suddenly they came down in 1 hour to 510, and then they jump back to 700, then they came down to 300. So these are a lot of scenarios for which you cannot write test cases today, because there's infinite possibilities. So you can use AI for it to be able to detect these anomalies over a period of time, and then give you some information about how your product or your systems behave. In this case, as it is operational excellence, it's more of system behavior. So that's pretty much what I wanted to tell here in the second use case. Now, what it does, what is the value it adds when you have operational excellence in AI is, let's take this a typical example where you have employed a team of so many people without using AI to detect incidents and then resolve issue and do performance optimization. Now, when you bring anomaly or you bring AI components which are continuously looking at anomalies, you don't need these many people. You actually can save a lot for your company, because the incident detection becomes better because people have been put into doing something else, and the AI is actually monitoring everything for you, which means you actually have saved and brought operational efficiency to the company. Right. So spending less time on incident detection because someone is detecting for you, and spending less time on issue resolution, but performance optimization you should continue doing. And that's what is the second case study, is what I thought of. So at the end of the day, right, what are the benefits you get is with automated incident detection is that you get enhanced operational efficiency, you get reduced downtimes, which is more important for us. It's not about building applications and delivering to the customer, it's about sustaining them, withstanding them without having any kind of issues, right? And at the end of the day, cost savings, because you do not need so many people to basically sit and watch. You have you leverage AI wherever it is applicable to ensure that you are able to detect some anomalies. As I mentioned, incidents don't wait, neither we do, because we are industry leaders. We need to keep moving forward. That's all I had to present. I hopefully you were able to get something out of it. Yeah.